Hello and welcome to this ride-along commercial real estate underwriting lesson. The subject is a small shopping center that is currently a piece of land that we contemplate constructing the left side first and then maybe the right side with a few other scenarios. As a quick introduction, my name is Edward Sapp. I have over 8 years of experience in commercial real estate. I run a company called Sapp Capital Advisors, which if you're interested, you can find more detail at sapp.capital, where there's just more information on us and what we do and who I am. But shortly put, before I launched Sapp Capital Advisors a year and 7 months ago, I had been working at a large real estate private equity mega fund in Manhattan called Brookfield Asset Management, where I had many different roles, from public mergers and acquisitions of companies like Forest City to private side real estate transactions. The funds that I worked with were private equity funds, so like $15 billion, $17 billion private funds that were targeting, say, 20% opportunistic returns. And then kind of lower yielding funds like the NAV REITs and balance sheet capital. So I have been fortunate to have lots of deal experience in my life, and I have worked on deals across sectors and strategies. So retail, multifamily, office, malls, senior housing, and developments and stabilized properties, all sorts of stuff. And I work with lots of different clients to this day of all shapes and sizes. Some of my clients are large global hedge funds. Other clients are kind of smaller companies. And this one's a bit of a middling client. So the goal of this video series is for you to join me as I go from 0 to 1 on a deal. So what we will start with is very rough. It's going to be the information that I have from my calls and the initial emails and PDFs that the client has sent me. You will sit and watch me work, and we will provide additional details on the video explaining what's going on. There may be long stretches of silence where I'm just working and I will explain what's going on. The goal is just for you to watch how it works. How do you underwrite a deal from nothing, from a blank Excel to a finished product? So this should be exciting. This is not scripted. This is me working through this from start, and I will be doing this as a first draft model. So this first video is the model that I'm making after I hopped off a call with my client about an hour ago. Very fresh. I don't know much about this deal. So let's dive in and work through the model. So what do we have? We have a shopping center that we want to build. These are the assumptions. So we've got a site plan. This is called a site plan. This has some key data. I'll zoom in. I know my monitor is very large, so I'll make sure I've zoomed into everything kind of more than I typically would do so that you can see better. I'm assuming you might be on a small laptop or a phone or something, so I'm just going to zoom in more than I do. But we have, these are the costs to build this thing just for the first parcel. This is the site plan. We can see it is 121,000 square feet for the whole site. Retail A is going to be 8.3 thousand square feet. Retail B, same thing. So in terms of the site, you can see we've got all this space for parking and all that good stuff. And then the actual retail goes here and here. We have a lease, which I've redacted and kind of cut up. I cut out, this was a 40, 50 page lease with lots of excerpts. I've cut it down to just the basics of what matters. We'll get into this later. All of this information, when I start a project, I create this folder. I name the project. I put the date for the date when I started it. And I create a model. And I am just opening up an older thing on my other computer for reference, just so I have something to remind myself of my style. So I've got a laptop off to my side. I'm on my main computer here. I have a lot of private information that I don't want you guys to see because most of my models are for private clients. This one is obviously anonymous and I've redacted and changed numbers. So this is all scrubbed. but it does represent the economics of a deal. So for your purpose, it's great information. For context, I'm recording this video on November of 2024. That's important because the rates that I'm using for interest rates and stuff will be for this time, and in the future, the rates will be different. So, long story short, this is the data. So I got this email from the client. He attached the lease. I showed you that. Cost is below. The cost is here. This is just for one building. This is the cost to do retail 1. So we'll need to model this for the retail 2 scenario. Equity, 40% equity, 60% debt for the construction debt. Just high-level notes. So any operating expenses that are not covered by CAM. So basically, CAM is your 2 tenants are going to have all sorts of expenses: utilities, security, property taxes, insurance, every expense associated with running this, maintaining the parking lot, taking care of any trees or shrubbery or any landscaping or paint. That's all going to be paid for by the tenants through their leases. This building is pre-leased. This building, the second building, will be pre-leased by the time that we're done. I'm not sure which one's exactly retail 1, but let's just pretend it's the one on the left. It doesn't quite matter. And let's say the one on the right is retail 2. This lease that we actually have, this is actually signed. This is a real lease with a tenant. The tenant's going to be like a vet or something like that. And they're going to pay rent and they're going to pay OpEx. But this OpEx comment is relevant because your building will have expenses, but your tenant pays all of them. So as us, the landlords, we're pretty much just getting rent. And that concept is called triple net. And you can research that elsewhere. So yeah, we'll go there. We'll go with that. I know Leverage Breakdowns has good articles on that. So CAM's paid the whole time. Leases, we've got, so this lease has free rent for the first 5 months, and then the rent kind of ramps up for months 6 to 9, and then 10 to 12, and then it flattens out at 3280, 3362, and we'll plug this all into Excel, but it looks like it's probably like a 3% growth rate, so 33.62 over 32.80 minus 1, so 2.5% growth rate, and then 45.22 over 44.12. So yeah, it's like 2.5. It grows 2.5 a year. It looks like we'll plug the numbers in, but that's the idea. Security deposit, TIs, LCs. So let's get to designing the spreadsheet. These are my notes from the call with the client, which aren't entirely clean. There's some, we were talking and he kind of changed his mind throughout, so I need to clean these up. But this is column notes. So what I do is I use Microsoft OneNote. I really like OneNote. I just kind of write down whatever the client says on the call. I'm a fast typer, so I mostly type everything. And then my first step that I do before I start a project is I write out the to-do. So I'm just going to read through this. So build construction cash flows for first parcel. Build construction cash flows for second parcel. So construction cash flows for both parcels. So first parcel with its own timing and ability to toggle on off. Second parcel with its own timing and ability to toggle on off with its own cost assumptions. Off on the right of my screen, you'll see I've got some keyword shortcuts that say what buttons I'm hitting. And so that's helpful because I can move pretty fast in Excel. So I need to build the building. So I will just, I'm going to call this sheet control and I'll make it prettier. Cash flow. I'm going to call this one cash flow. So construction land cost for half the parcel, 600K. Yeah, I get that. So control 1 does like check boxes. How will the deal look with half the parcel and sale value and toggle? So construction toggles should flip between construct and sell at capped NOI or sell for land value. So input land sale value for both parcels. No carry costs. So carry costs, this deal, we're not going to have any. So if you own land, so right now these deals are land, and the idea is that it's just land. So there's really three scenarios, which I'll get to in a second. It's not a comment. How does the second parcel look at it? Second parcel rent. So rents, input specific lease terms for first, for retail 1. Retail 2 start at 34 per foot with an $80 TI. I'll figure out the TI. Lease, free rent, rank up period as well. No free rent or ramp up periods. So the second lease won't have a free rent or ramp up period. This 34 is a bit of a conservative assumption. How does the deal look standalone with a land sale within 24 months of the adjacent? So closing costs. He kept saying different numbers, but let's just do like 6% closing costs if land sale, or I'm not sure if the land sale should have separate closing costs, but that's okay. If this is all overwhelming, I'm just ironing out my notes, and we will be getting into the details. We'll have plenty of time to explore all these concepts, and the deal will start to shape up. Option 2, so model should be able to show 3 scenarios. Build just retail 1. Build both retail 1 and retail 2. Build neither and sell both for land. Sell retail 2 for land value. Construction takes time, so 12-month construction period for both. Build neither and sell both for land. Value. Hold period, 10-year hold period. So that's that. I'm just checking these off, not because they're done, but just because I've translated them into slightly more legible to do. Yeah. And then, rents. Assume both are pre-leased, so once construction is finished, you immediately start renting the buildings out. So that's important because sometimes if it's a spec deal or something, it might not be leased, but these are pre-leased. And so moving forward, we've got some more things. So we've got the costs here that I typed in earlier. The debt assumptions, construction debt is going to be construction. I'm just basically writing what he wrote. I'll explain this. All right, I'm just going to delete this image now that I've written it out. So when we build a model, we usually do the unlevered cash flows first and the levered cash flows second. So what is that? Really simple. Anything that has to do with the actual building, the rent, the project is unlevered. Anything that has to do with the debt and the financing, that's levered. So you don't necessarily have to finance this deal to do it. So basically, if you can, anything that doesn't go away if you just got rid of financing and just paid cash for everything, that's unlevered. Anything that has to do with construction loan, interest, amortization on your perm debt, the perm debt issuance amount, all that stuff is levered. So all that to say is I like to organize my to-dos, starting with unlevered and moving down to levered. The first thing that happens in terms of the timeline is we're going to build this building. And then we're going to rent it out. So I'm actually going to move this rent. Exit valuation. I didn't even ask. Assume a 7% cap rate confirm with client. I am going to email the client right now and ask him. Well, I'll ask him follow-up questions just in case I have more questions. I don't want to annoy the client, so I'm going to make it just a little running list. What cap rate do we want to use for exit value? There's always going to be something that I forgot to ask on the first call. So I'm just going to, we're very back and forth today, but I'm just going to put a 7% in for now, and I'll email them in the middle of this video. I just want to wait in case there's other questions that I have, because I'm probably going to stop in about an hour because I got to go take care of some other business, but then I'll get back to this video later in the day. So if the lighting changes, it's because I'm doing this over time. Okay. All right, so we have set up the basics of this deal. So the timing of everything, not worry too much about the prettiness of this sheet, and let's just get the data in here. So this is going to be my project cost. So this will be parcel 1. That's a hard code. That's a hard code. Or maybe I just do it like this, actually. TI allowance. This will be good to read. TI is there. Design. Sewer cost. No, I think it's better to do it. And then, sorry, stop. So let's just build out a new window because I'm probably going to start losing you guys if I don't. So this is going to be my cash flow. So timing, entry date. So let's say we buy this on 1/30/124. That was the start date that he mentioned on the call. Hold period is going to be 10 years, so 120 months. Usually do hold periods in months. And then exit date, I'm using the EO month formula. Always use month ends in your models. So that's your exit date. I don't need to bold that. So that's your timing for this deal. So our entry date is going to be that. Our month, let me zoom in here, is going to be 0. By the way, I'm using this program called Macabacus in Excel, which is effectively necessary. If you want to do real estate modeling, you need to get this. You will see I'm hitting some keyboard shortcuts like Control semicolon. That changes the font color from like black to blue. Quote makes it go to like different cycles and stuff. Control Shift K changes my borders and things. So you'll see the shortcuts that I'm hitting off on the side for most of the shortcuts. And I'm using Macabacus to do a lot of these. So not all of these are native Excel. So if you want to do what I do, and I really would just say you need Macabacus. So month, this is going to be a monthly model. So we're going to build everything out. So when you do a 10-year hold period, you need 11 years of data, because in real estate, to value a building, we take the next 12 months of NOI. Actually, I like to put these above it so that I can hide them later. So there's that. So that's the month. I freezed panes with Alt WFF. So Alt WFF. So if I don't freeze the panes, I can't see the stuff that I freeze. If I do freeze the panes, then I can see the stuff on the left, right? If I want to just always see columns, BC. Year, so this will be, if this is a fancy thing that basically says like, if this divided by 12 equals 0, then the year has changed. Otherwise, the year has not changed. So that's the year. And then the date is just going to be every month, just one more month. And there you have it. There's our timeline. So our timeline is finished. I'm just going to style it. And I like to kind of make my ones a little bit less noisy. And these are going to be little gray things. And then an important sheet that I always build is my checks sheet. So in the checks sheet, I put the name of the deal. So this is Liberty and Bellevue. I'm using a lot of native Excel shortcuts too, which this isn't really a video on native Excel shortcuts, but if you need to learn them, there's other resources on leveragebreakdowns.com. So checks, check, result, top row, this is going to be our global check, so every sheet will look into our global check. This is important. Don't skip this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more column. Oops! I accidentally copy-pasted a million things. This is all personal style stuff. Like not all this styling that I'm doing. The checks are necessary, but the styling I'm doing is a little. It's just my own style. You can do your own style. It's fine. 15. This is just the SAP Capital Advisor style. So this is going to be our cash flow page, and then cash flow page 2 is going to need its own checks. So let's just add a section down here. Check, result. It's going to be the same thing, actually. And I didn't lock this in, so I'm just going to take this. Delete that. None yet, except I'm going to add one check. Sheet end checks. So here we go, equals 1 minus count ifs. So is the sheet in checks? It's not yet, so it says 1. And you can see my sheet has an error. That error flags a 1. If it's anything other than a 0, your check is broken. So I'm going to bring this in here. I haven't added the name, so the error is still going to happen. So now my global check is telling me there's an issue. But when I put the name in, the issue goes away. So that was just me linking my checks up. Let's do it again for control. So kind of the same thing, except I'm going to hard code that. Okay, yeah, good. So C2. That should link to checks A1 always, equals checks 1. Good, good. Same, that should link to the check. So if we ever use this for another deal, we can be like, other deal, right there, and then it changes everywhere, which is nice. Let's add the checks to here. We haven't even done anything yet. That's how important the checks are. It's like the first thing that you should do when you make a model. And now we've got sheet and checks. This one should break, except it's looking at cash flow. So it's checks C2, C1. Oops, sorry, that was a mistake. Should be cash flow, not the deal name. Freeze. I usually freeze frames on sheets. So that's that. So this one's an error because I haven't linked. So this should be control. A2, and then this will be C2, C1. Boom. So the local check's there, the global check's in A1, the name of the sheet's in C1. So everything's linked up now. I'm ready to start having checks in my model, which I will add now as I work. But every sheet's got a check sheet, and that's good. So the next thing is the construction cost. So this will be start 0. So this will start in month 1 and it'll end in month 12. So I'm just gonna delete all this. This will be in month 0. I'm going to change this. So it begins in month 1, it lasts for 12 months. Land cost, it's just 1 month. It happens in the first month. TI allowance, it begins in month 12. Start. And it lasts for 1 month. 1 month just means once. 12 months means 12 times, so one time. So you're going to buy the land once at the start of the project. Your TIs are going to be there. 1 to 12, 1 to 12. Interest carry. This is going to be NA. I'll get to that later. Interest carry is going to be kind of more of a financing cost, but we'll get to that once we build the debt. So we need to build the construction debt before we can build the interest carry. Interest carry is like you have a building that doesn't exist, but you have debt to build it. That debt generates interest, but the building doesn't generate income. So the debt has to know how much interest is it going to be during that construction phase before you start making money, so that you can create, basically the debt needs to be sized to pay its own interest until it can generate revenue. If that's confusing, we're going to get into the details and it will make more sense. So all these things are hard codes, so I make them blue. Hard codes are always blue. So yeah, boom, 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 boom. So I think the TI, I'm just kind of reordering these things in terms of when they happen. One, cost. Total cost is missing. 3927. Boom, 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 boom. So equity and debt. This is gonna get more nuanced, but I'm just keeping it for now. The equity and debt, that'll come into play once we build the debt. Let's do we're gonna do the unlevered cash flows first. I'm gonna close this other window and just keep this stuff. So 10-year hold period, so kind of check, we already did that here. I'm gonna move checks to the end of the model. Cash flow, I like to add little helpers through entry during hold. So this will be if, honestly, if, doesn't matter if you do it based on the month or not, as long as you use that one, else 0. So this will just be a way for us to shut off things after the hold period ends and keep it flexible. So when you build a model, you want it to be able to change the hold period by just typing in like 60 or like, let's say like 48, right? Like, boom, now it's all zeros. We're going to connect stuff to this 10 thing to like shut off, shut on. But let's switch it back to 120 because that's what the client asked for. So project costs for parcel 1 are here. And then project costs for parcel 2 are going to be so parcel 1 on off. So parcel 1, let's do parcel 1. Let's just do the land sale stuff. The land sale stuff will come. Let's just do the construction and then do the land sale after that. So let's just build out the construction of both. And then after we do the construction, let's do the full build out of the construction for both. And then we'll add the functionality to turn the construction off. Parcel 2 start delay. Actually, I think you have to still buy this in the first month. Sometimes I just leave notes for the client so they can see it. This, though, these I'm going to link up to each other, so it's just less stuff. That's a variable. And then that'll be that, and then that'll be 1 month. So that'll be in month 12. So I'm just going to take this. That'll be month 13. Once the building's finished, you then, at the last month, will do the TI, and it'll just be one big cash outflow to the tenant, and then they can deal with it from there. And so this is going to be start month 0, but then the building, parcel 2, we didn't say, assume we build parcel 2 right after parcel 1 finishes. This we can easily change that. So start month. Okay, so yeah, all these costs are basically being spent on the same time period, most of them, but then there's just this one at the end, a TI, what is a TI allowance? If you don't know, a TI allowance is a tenant improvement allowance. So once your building's built, you're going to give the tenant a certain amount of money to complete the space. So if it's a vet, we're going to give them an additional $750,000. We just give them the money, and that's negotiated, and then they go and finish the space, put all the vet stuff in it, like vet tables and desks, waiting room chairs, whatever. We just give them money, and then they finish. Because we usually, you deliver a warm, dark shell, well, with lighting and stuff. Yeah. So that's parcel 1. Parcel 2, it's going to be the same story. So outside of the interest carry will be modeled separately. But outside of that, we've got all these project costs that we now need to model on these timelines for retail 1, parcel 1, parcel 2. We're just going to call it parcel 1, parcel 2. I know that my TI needs to be different, so parcel details, parcel 1, parcel 2, total, so like SF, it's a detail, land sale. We're just going to 0 this out for now, but I'm leaving it because I know this is a toggle we want, and I kind of want a space where I can mess with it. So I think it's 8309. Yep. And then this doesn't need to be summed, but whatever. And sale amount. That's going to be... He gave a number for the land sale. Did I not write it down? I'm just going to put NA if it's just not relevant. 24. Just making it kind of clear to the client, like this stuff will not work if the land sale's on or off. So land sale on, 0 means off, 1 means on, just normal stuff there. This is going to be $60. Oh yeah. Rentable square footage is different than. So this parcel size is going to be 121,809. $60 a foot, I think you said? No, at 17 a foot. And so if it's off, nothing happens. And this stuff doesn't actually do anything yet because we haven't modeled it. And then parcel square footage. Okay. So I got the inputs ready to go. So that's fine. The rents, second, I need to go just shut this door. Be right back. So rents are going to be their whole thing. Own situation. No carry costs. Got it. Yep. This is really the going to have the most functionality in the model. I'm going to delete those comments actually, because that's obvious, like what we're doing there. Trying to make this thing look good. I usually don't care about making things look pretty early on, but might as well. I know this client in particular likes to be a little tight. So control. Got that. And then let's just do leasing. So this is going to be.
Sonos voice control lets you make music requests, adjust volume.
Sorry, my Sonos just turned on. Hey, Sonos, stop. All right. This is really what we're going to just put in there. I think it's just easiest to do it like just kind of make it simple. Begin. I like if the controls are going to be for parcel 1. I'm going to do parcel 2 down here in a second. So let's just start with parcel 1 though. But the controls will be the same. So begin, end, monthly, annual, PSF. The renewal, we have a section in here about the renewal for 16 through 20. This model is going to go out. We have a section for renewal here in the PDF. This model is going to go out until year 11. So I don't really care about the renewal stuff. So let's just... There's a cool hack, Control-Alt. When you hit Control-Alt in PDF... Whoop, I need more space. If you hit Control-Alt... I know I need to get that first months 1 through 5. Let's just get the big ones. Begin. That's not right. I need to put those there. I'm going to just put these here so it like reads. That's really all I need. I don't need all that extra space. Per foot, that should just be that over parcel 1 square footage. If it's not, then I'll be very confused. I could paste it in, but it should work. So this is begin 6 and 9. So this is begin greater than or equal to, and this is end less than or equal to. In month. To 12, and then this is going to be 12 to 24, and that'll be and then equals 15 times 12 should be 180. Yep. So I end on the right date, inclusive. So this will be. So this is you're counting all the months that they're in. And so months, I'm just going to do this real quick. 0, take that style, 0, 0, 0, begin month 1 and month 5. So 6, 5, 9, 10, 12, 12, 24. So then that's great. And you know, if we wanted to add a check that there is no overlap, that's actually true, 13 to 24. So this should be minus that plus 1. That's 180. I'm just going to do duration 5, 4, 3, 12. 12. This is more of a visual check. Months duration. So there's that. And we'll build a lookup formula to make this function. I don't need a total. That wouldn't make any sense. Just for so people can see what's going on. So that'll be 0 equals that over that minus 1. If that's an error, then all right, perfect. And then just to make it pretty, I'll just make that blank so that you've got the rent, and then the timing is probably going to be a little different. All right, leasing is here. And then parcel 2, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Thing is, my parcel 2 leasing, I want to make sure it's linked to the construction period. So it'll be pretty much the same stuff. So like year 1, except it's going to be year 1, year 2, blah, 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 blah. Whoop. I need more space. Okay, cool. Now, let's remember in his note, there was a couple of things I needed to do. I could have this. Actually, this is probably smarter. Probably don't even. It's getting a little. It's like. Okay, I don't need this. I'm going to get rid of the growth because that's just whatever. Timing can go there. I'm thinking of smashing this next to it instead of being below it, because we're going to have to add some debt stuff. And I'm just thinking in terms of like a PDF. No, I changed my mind. Sorry. This is why making things pretty can be kind of annoying. Okay. Let's just start with this design. I'm just copying this to get the design of the cells. I'm going to delete all these numbers. So this is going to be month. Begin month will be when the TI hits. And then and I'm doing this -1 +1 thing because the rent starts on the 26th, so you get rent on the 26th and you get rent through the 37th. So if you do like 26 that +1 blah 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 through the 37th, which is basic algebra, that's 12. It's kind of small, but you can see that counts 12. That's 12 months, even though it's 11 months between the two, because you are getting it on the first and the last month. The per foot he wanted for this other one was 34. So, in a model like this I know this may not feel simple, but it is. That times 12 times that. No, not times 12. Sorry. It's already an annual number. Wow, that's a lot. So 34 to 86. Yep. And then that's going to go 0, boom, and then 2.5%. That times 1 plus that. Cool. And that'll be that 12. Things that are blue are inputs. Things that are... So let's just make one of these. Let's just make the annual rent an input. And then that'll be that. So there's that stuff. That's 100 years. That's 115 years. So yeah, so now we've got our parcel 1 and our parcel 2 assumptions in here for our rents, and we can see how much rent we're getting in each month. So that's great. I'm gonna just because this has like a hanging thing out to this side, I'm just gonna push all this stuff. And I'm just gonna take this and delete it. So it looks, I just want it to kind of be all kind of connected. The decimals are overkill, but the client had them in their outputs, so so that's unlevered. The leverage, we'll get there. So I'm going to delete all this. And then this will need to be toggle on off. Obviously, if we don't build either of these, we'll need to toggle this on or off. So this is the deal. So we're starting here, holding it that long. This is how big stuff is. If we land sale it, we'll sell each parcel for this much, only if we toggle them on or off. This is the costs and their associated start and end timing for both the deals. There's some linkage going on between parcel 1 and parcel 2 for some manual control. And then the rents are very detailed down here, but this is the rents that we have from the lease and then for his other guidance. So I'm just going to have all that stuff. I'm not checking them yet. And so exit valuation, probably want that up here. So the 3 scenarios. So we're pretty close. Uh, 0 if and sale. I think I'm going to transpose this. So that's there. This, I'm going to put this here. Actually, yeah, it's going to go a bit differently. So when you need to rearrange things, cutting and pasting is going to be your friend. If stuff is linking to it, which I've already done, so. I'm going to add more information on exit value and stuff to this